Hello, I'm Penny Venable, and I was born in Campbell, California, which is a suburb of San Jose, California, and my parents were Paul and Goldie Lastly. It was November 15th, 1987. I had had a sitter staying with me for the weekend, and I had just returned from children's choir that Sunday afternoon. My mom and dad were supposed to be back from their weekend trip, and they'd gone to Sedona, Arizona for the weekend. They had left early the Friday before. That early morning, I remember being dropped off at school that morning, and it was great. It was a beautiful day, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish I was going with them. The sky is so beautiful this morning, and it's so still that I'm sure it's going to be gorgeous up there. My parents made sure I was raised in a Christian, loving environment. They made sure I knew at a very young age that they were committed to God and they were committed to our family. They put their jobs and everything they did with God's will first. And my mom, Goldie, was, if it needed to be done, Goldie was called. And she was one of those people that you look back and think, how did she accomplish all these things and not feel like she was being pulled in every which direction? And that commitment to God's will for her life was evident that when you put Him first, everything falls in place. Paul made sure that our household was always going somewhere and doing something. If we weren't doing something for the church, we were going to see his mom over the mountain in Santa Cruz, or he was planning trips that had education to them. And one of the trips that my dad took us on was to go to South Carolina when I was 8 years old. It was on this trip that we met Sammy and Sandra Lyda for the very first time. They were two very, very close friends of my parents, Paul and Goldie's. My parents had thought ahead in life. They were the type that were always well-planned, and they had already put something in place if anything had ever happened to them. They were supposed to be back by Sunday afternoon about 12:30, 1 o'clock. And small airplanes, you have to kind of pay attention to weather and air currents a little more and wind and that sort of thing. So I wasn't worried about the fact I hadn't seen him or heard from him yet. And so my sitter and I are approaching the door, and an officer met us at my house and asked who we were, to identify ourselves, and he asked if we could go in and sit down. So I'm thinking, okay, something's wrong, something's up. It was then he informed me that the plane my parents and another couple were riding in had crashed and that there were no survivors. I was 12 and my sister was 16 at the time. They had a will set up that my sister and I would be cared for by a loving Christian couple. And that couple was Sammy and Sandra Lyda, the same couple I had met once before when I was 8 and hadn't seen them since. They dropped everything. They left their church, they left their friends, they left their family. They packed up the sewing machine and 2 bags into the back of their little Toyota truck, drove across country, and moved in with my sister and I. Sammy took that position of father figure and confidant that taught you how to drive, and was the one that checked out the boyfriends to make sure they were good enough. And Sandra became that mother figure that I had to have filled after Paul and Goldie died. They her and Sammy dove into our church as if it had been theirs since they were a child as well. And we stayed very involved. We did GAs, we did actings, we did missions trips. We were in the youth group. When we became old enough, we were a part of the adult choir, and all four of us sang in the adult choir. And she took us from being them and us and made sure we became a family of four. I had Goldie for the first 12 years of my life, but Sandra I had for 30. She was the one that I went to through dating relationships. She was the one I went to through college issues. Sandra was the one who helped me through into adulthood, and she was the one who was there for me through my childbirth with my kids, and became the grandparents to my children. And she showed me how to face the difficulties in life with grace. A month after we found out that she had cancer, God took her home Christmas morning in 2017. And I could hear her, "Merry Christmas." I got to go home on his birthday. I could hear her excited about the gift that was given to her to go home and be with Dad. And the gift that she thought she was giving to us, being able to go home. She waited for me to leave the room for a moment to be with the kids for a bit at Christmas. And I could hear her saying, "What a gift." Not everyone can say they were given a godly, committed woman that they could call mom. God gave me two. And I have taken up the charge that they've started to raise my own children with the value of faith and family.